6 months ago, I gave a webinar to a room full of business owners about how to deploy AI across their teams. What's interesting is that people are still referencing the video. Clients still quote things back to me from that exact webinar. But here's the problem that I'm recognizing as I look back at the video. A lot of what I taught back in December is already outdated in June of 2026. The tools have moved. My own thinking has shifted and moved. The biggest thing that I didn't teach loud enough back then is now probably the most important lesson that I've learned about rolling out AI across a team. So if you've been wondering why the AI tools that you bought and started to implement for your team aren't getting used, then this video is for you. So grab your cup of coffee because I'm going to walk you through what's actually changed, what we deploy now, and how my team uses it day to day. Not only that, but I'm going to share the one thing that every operator, every business owner that I work with tends to get wrong when they try to roll AI out to people who don't naturally lean into it on their own. So here's the lesson I should have led the webinar with, but I didn't. The reason that your team isn't using AI has almost nothing to do with the AI tool you picked. Oftentimes, it has just about everything to do with whether you've built the habit. Many entrepreneurs, business owners, small business owners, they try to solve an AI rollout the same way that they try to solve every other problem in their stack. They tend to pick a tool, they give the team access to that tool, they send a training video, they might schedule a kickoff meeting, and then they expect the adoption. And this oftentimes is best case scenario, if any of that happens in the first place. The challenge here is that it doesn't traditionally work. I know, I tried it. My team had access to a ChatGPT account for a few months now. The call review tool that I had built for some of my podcast team, most of the team weren't actually using it consistently. Now, I was using it daily because, well, frankly, I built it. They had access, but their behavior hasn't completely changed yet. So the lesson here is that tools don't change a team. Behavior patterns need to change in order for the team's adoption to change. AI rollout is a leadership problem that can kind of disguise itself as a bit of a tech problem. Once I understood that, just about everything changed on how I rolled this stuff out to the team. So let me walk you through what didn't work first. When I first started rolling AI out across our ActionCOACH team, I did almost everything you'd expect. I bought a team ChatGPT account. I built custom GPTs for specific roles within the company. I had call reviews for the podcast team. I had a sales role play buddy for the sales team so they could practice their sales calls. I had department-specific project folders with SOPs loaded into it. And I had trained people on how to use each of these items. Now, some team members, they loved it, they got excited, they took it immediately, they just got it. They started using it on their own, but there was other people on the team. Other team members kind of nodded, showed a little bit of excitement, but after the meetings, after the launch, they never really opened the tool consistently after that. That call review GPT was supposed to save the podcast team several hours a week. I had originally built it because I personally ran out of time to review every single call. So I was using it, but the team wasn't using it, which ultimately meant that they weren't improving as fast as they could have. They weren't living up to the level of potential that we now gave them unlock access to. And this isn't because the tool was bad or not working or anything else like that. It was more subtle than that. The habit just wasn't there. We hadn't helped them build the habit of using these new tools that had never existed in the past before. So here's the harder admission. The tool stack that I had built 6 months ago is mostly not what we use today. So for us here, we've actually moved off the team ChatGPT account and onto a Google Workspace with Gemini, because Gemini is natively connected to where the team is actually doing their work. The custom GPTs that we had in ChatGPT that had survived have largely been replaced by either Claude projects and Claude skills for the work that I do personally, or within Gemini with gems, which essentially work much the same way. The infrastructure here looks a little bit different now than it did 6-7 months ago. The first version that we had built out was right in spirit, but at the end of the day, it ended up being wrong in execution. So let me walk you through what we actually deploy today to give you some context so that you can start to do this in your own business. So first, we made one big platform decision that I think most business owners potentially can be getting wrong. We now standardize the team on Gemini through Google Workspace, not ChatGPT, not Claude. Here's the core reason why, because neither of those other tools are bad. Most AI rollout advice tells you to standardize on whichever model tends to be the best on the benchmarks. Use Claude because it's the best today. Use ChatGPT because it's best at this. Unfortunately, though, in the business context, that can miss the point a bit. For a team, the model that's connected to everything that's already connected to the work, that is more valuable than the model that's technically a little bit better. My team now lives in Google Workspace. Documents, Sheets, Gmail, Calendar, Drive. Gemini is able to read across all of that natively. It doesn't need external connections, which means the team doesn't have to copy and paste between different tools. The integration here is the value. Now, I want to give a little bit of context and caveats here. I personally use Claude for almost everything that I do. Deep work, content, building skills, co-work executions in folders on my desktop. Claude is where I live, but my team doesn't necessarily need Claude for what the team needs to do. They need AI that lives inside the workflows that they're already in. Now, that's not to say that you can't connect your Google Suite, your Gmail, your calendar, your documents, your sheets, all of those types of things to Claude or to ChatGPT. You absolutely can. I'm not sitting here saying that you and your team need to use Google and Gemini. I'm simply saying that the connectors are the piece that matter so that it works across all the different workflows. And if you can remove the friction from setting all of that up within your team members because it's already built in natively, the habit that's required to start using the tools consistently starts to take place more frequently. So at the end of the day, this is the lesson. Pick the AI that fits where your team already works, not necessarily the AI that scores the highest on someone's benchmark. Connections beat raw capability when you're deploying across people. The goal is behavior change, creating habits, and the less friction we have from tool to usage, the better this becomes. So once you stop thinking about AI as a tool and start thinking about it as a skill that the team is building, this is where you start to see 3 distinct layers of how they actually use it. So let's talk about layer 1, which is execution. This is AI doing work the team used to do manually. So this is things like drafting emails, creating documents, cleaning up data, building spreadsheets, updating client-facing files. All of these are examples of where this lives. Our admin function used to spend hours updating documents for clients, updating branding, all of that sort of thing. Now they have the power to describe what needs to be changed, and AI handles the formatting, and they get to review and ship the final outcome. The output here ultimately is the same, but the time spent is a fraction of what it used to be. I think this is where every team should start. The challenge is, it's also where a lot of teams tend to stop because they save some time, but the business doesn't really change. They feel like they're doing something powerful with AI, but really they're just doing the same work, just maybe a little bit faster. The mistake that I tend to see is thinking that this layer 1 is the ultimate destination. My encouragement is to recognize that it's not. It's really a doorway into additional capabilities that we now have access to. So this brings us to layer 2, which is intelligence. This is where AI surfaces patterns that the team couldn't see manually. The best example that I can give you is for our sales team. Before, prepping for a final sales conversation meant skimming previous call notes, if we even had them, and looking for all the patterns and things that they need to know in preparations for a sales call. Now though, the rep drops 3 prior conversation transcripts into a Claude co-work folder, or even this additional tool that we have access to. 10 minutes later, they walk into the final meeting, knowing which pains the prospect has articulated across all 3 conversations, all those things that they might have missed. They can now clearly see where the fear lives, what objections are likely to surface. What's the psychology of the person that's actually sitting across from them so they can communicate in a way that matters to the person so we can help them solve their problems. That level of preparation isn't slightly better than what we had before. It's a completely different category of preparation. We literally could not have done that manually at scale. And this is one of those things that doesn't just save time, but we're catching things that weren't there, which is going to increase conversion rate at sales, impact more people's lives, and ultimately impact the bottom line of the business. So let's talk another example. The call review system has evolved. It used to analyze a single call at a time. Now it can analyze every call across a folder by rep over time, which means that we can get trends, we can get patterns, we can see where each person is consistently strong. We can also see where each person consistently needs some growth. The team can actually see their own development as a curve, not as a single snapshot in time. Dang, talk about powerful sales training. So layer 2 is where AI starts to change what your team is capable of, not just how fast they do existing work. Which brings us then to layer 3, which is problem solving. This here is the highest leverage layer, and it's also today the rarest that you will see. Layer 3 is the team using AI to think through and solve problems that they've never solved before. So let's go through a recent example. One of our team members hit a recurring issue inside of our CRM. Something was breaking and they couldn't figure out exactly what was causing the issue. In the old world, they would have either spent hours digging through documentation, or they might have waited for me or someone else to troubleshoot it with them. Instead, they walked AI through the problem. In some cases, even gave AI access to the tool itself. They described what was happening, and what they got back was a step-by-step diagnostic. They found the root cause, and they were able to fix the problem themselves. The problem hadn't come up before. There was no official playbook for it. The team member used AI to build the playbook in real time as they solved the challenge. Now it's solvable anytime it comes up in the future. When your team operates at this layer 3, you stop being the bottleneck on novel problems. For a business that's growing, that is a real unlock. So here's the arc. Layer 1 saves you time. Layer 2 surfaces insights. Layer 3 builds capability. Every team that I've seen roll out AI well moves through each of these layers roughly in this order. It's important to recognize that we don't want to be trying to skip ahead. Layer 3 only works if layer 1 is already a habit consistently. So let me tell you the story that taught me how AI adoption kind of actually happens inside of a team. My dad, Andy, is a coach here on the team. He's a partner in the business, and he's been listening to me talk about Claude and AI for months. He's been hearing me describe the types of things that I've been building with it. He's watched me deploy it in my own operations. He had the belief that it was useful. He just wasn't using it himself. So I kept encouraging him to continue to try to use this. Hey, you should try Claude. It'd help you with these couple things that you are working on. And because of all the things on your plate, you'd love this. Unfortunately, none of this really worked. He'd say, yeah, of course. He'd nod. I really need to. But then the habit wasn't there. He wouldn't actually go do it. He wouldn't go play with the tool and learn what he needed to learn. So then one day I gave him kind of a tangible, specific thing. I said, take these specific files, right? Took him all the way down to something that he was working on. I said, take these files, drop them into a folder on your desktop. Then I want you to open Claude Cowork. Click the little button here. Give it this prompt and tell me what comes back. And this prompt explained the folder and access and things like that. So he did it once. And the second the output came back, something for him finally clicked. He actually saw it himself. This was different than me telling him it was useful. This wasn't a training video. This was his own hands, his own files, his own challenge or problem that he was looking to solve for a specific outcome. And now because he took the time to go learn how to do that, he's now becoming a power user of Cowork specifically. And not only that, he's deploying it with his coaching clients. He's pulling AI into his own workflow in ways that I hadn't suggested. And it's all because once he saw, he felt, he did, and got the experience of everything that it could do, he started seeing the applications for it in his own workflows just about everywhere. So here's what that whole arc taught me. You can't talk a team member into AI adoption. Frankly, you can't talk them into much of anything. You can't motivate them into it. In some regards, you can train them into it. But what really works is giving them specific things to try with their own work and letting the tool guide them through it. Allow them to play and experience and feel what it's like when they are able to accomplish things they couldn't before or in half the time that it took before. They need the real work, the real hands-on experience. The first hit of leverage is the moment that behavior actually starts to change. And until a team member experiences that for themselves, I'm finding that no amount of encouragement or training videos or anything of that nature is going to make them a believer. And the side lesson here is it's not just AI. Anything else you want to train your team members on, they have to get into it and feel the reasons for themselves. This is true for your most skeptical team member. It's also true for your most enthusiastic one. The pattern is the same. One specific assignment, their hands, their files, their problem that they get to solve. So this is the part that's, I think, under talked about in AI rollout content. The team, your team, doesn't change by themselves. You've got to be the one who's already past where you want them to be, at least in the beginning. The biggest cost in deploying AI across my team has not been the money. It hasn't been the tools. It's been my own learning time. At this stage, early in adoption, I find that I have to be at least one step ahead of every team member in the AI learning curve. Not because I want to look smart, but because if I'm not, I can't point them at the right next move. I can't help troubleshoot when they get stuck. And if I don't, I can't recognize a layer 2 or layer 3 opportunity in their work and call it out to them in real time. If you're not personally using AI deeper than your team is, you can't lead them through this. You'll end up becoming the same bottleneck on AI adoption that you used to be on every other process in your business. The operator, the manager, your role in AI rollout is to learn faster, model the behavior, and reinforce the habit until it sticks. This doesn't mean that you have to become an absolute master, but you have to know enough. Here are the 3 management moves that actually work. Move 1, visible usage. I use AI in front of my team. In meetings, in one-to-ones, in real time. They watch me solve problems with it during the actual problem, not after. I default to saying, is this something we can use AI for? Let's find out. That demonstration does more than any official training session that I've ever run because it's real-time feedback. Move 2, the one specific assignment. I have shifted away from telling people to start using AI more. That doesn't tend to work really well. It has to be specific. So I give them one specific thing. Something like, drop these files into this folder, try this prompt, and then send me what comes back. Specificity beats encouragement just about every single time. And that's because we're creating habits and behavior change. Which brings us to move 3, calling wins out loud. When a team member uses AI to do something faster, better, or differently, I do my best to name it in the next meeting. Something like, hey guys, Sarah pulled 3 months of analytics in just 20 minutes that used to take an entire afternoon. Or the marketing team used AI to audit our entire pipeline and found 3 bottlenecks that we've been missing. The point here is to make the behavior visible to the team. The team starts noticing what's possible because their teammates are doing it, not because I'm telling them what to go do. This becomes a form of social proof. So this brings us to the deeper truth about kind of all of this. It's what this whole systems over heroes actually looks like at the team level. The hero version of leadership is you doing the AI work yourself because you're the best at it. The systems version is you teaching the team to do it, reinforcing the habit until it becomes second nature and staying one step ahead of them so you can continue to guide them on their next move. That's your job in all of this transition. So I want to leave you with something that I genuinely believe to be true about the next 5 years. The highest paid people on just about every team are going to be the ones who use AI most efficiently, which is different than the ones who know the most about AI. Not the ones who can name the most tools, the ones who actually use it most effectively in their daily work. As token costs continue to go up and businesses get more sophisticated about measuring their output per dollar, the most valuable team members will be the ones who deliver more results in less time, less rework, less management overhead. They're the ones that understand context windows and caching. This is no longer an optional skill development anymore. This is becoming the baseline expectation for what professional work is going to look like here in the very near future. So what this means is rolling AI out to your team isn't a nice to have. It's not a 2027 problem. It's probably the most important leadership decision you're making right now, whether you've actually named it or not. AI is making your business more sophisticated, more efficient, better, and you're building skill sets for your team to continue to thrive in the next stage of work. So here's what I want you to take away from this video. If your team isn't using the AI tools that you've bought and provided to them, stop blaming the tools. Stop adding new tools. Stop signing them up for another training course or any of these other things. Pick one team member. Pick one specific assignment. Hand it to them with the exact files and the exact prompt and allow them to execute. Watch what happens when they see the leverage for themselves in real time. Then most importantly, once this is complete, I want you to name that win publicly to the rest of your team. Reinforce that habit and then repeat with the next person. The tools themselves don't change a team. Behavior needs to change. And behavior changes one specific assignment at a time. So if you've been following along, I'm documenting how we're rolling this out across both our territories within ActionCOACH and how I'm using it in Benefic marketing in real time here on this channel. Which means I'm going to share the wins, I'm going to share some of the mistakes like I've shared here today, I'm going to share what's working, what's changing, what I'm killing, and how this is all evolving in this fast-paced environment of AI. If that's useful to you, I encourage you to hit subscribe. We'll see you back here again next week. And as always, let's go build some amazing businesses together.